I'm gonna get so much hate for this video. I am. I just know it. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with some series that I'm not going to continue. So I thought it was a good time to kind of just have a quick check-in with kind of where I'm at with my series. So I will be doing a video, it might be the next one you're seeing, I'm not sure, just kind of talking about the series that I'm currently reading, where I'm at with those, if I'm up to date, the ones I finished, just kind of like a general check-in. But today we're going to be kind of taking the ones a little bit out of that video and talking about the series that I'm not going to continue, the ones that I have officially DNF'd, have decided not to kind of, I don't want to say waste my time with them, but use my time more wisely for things that I'm more interested in. So there's about 11 here in this video. Just as a disclaimer, with all of these types of videos, there will be some that are going to be your favorites. Like there's definitely a couple of series here that I'm going to talk about today that are like ridiculously popular. So if you like these, that's fantastic. That makes me so happy. I love that people love these series. I'm just not one of them. There's usually like one very specific reason why I decided not to continue, but let's just dive in because it's gonna be a video. Okay, let's just get the biggest one out of the way. I'm not gonna continue with Lord of the Rings. I'm sorry. I read The Hobbit and I read the first one, The Fellowship of the Rings, and I just cannot jive with the writing style. I love this series. I really enjoy the movie adaptations of them. I like the world itself, like the world that J.R.R. Tolkien has created. These characters like Frodo and Sam, and like just like all the elves and the orcs and like all of these different creatures are really, really fun for me. But I can't get past his classic fantasy writing style, and that's just not a writing style that works with me. I've tried a few things like this that are very similar to how he writes, and it just doesn't work. So do I love this fandom? Absolutely. But I'm not like a book person when it comes to this world. I'm more of like prefer the movies, but it's honestly his writing. It's not the world, it's not the characters, it's not the adventures. I love all the stories that are in this world. It's his writing I can't get past. So this one's a little weird for me because, like, I still consider myself a Lord of the Rings fan because I do enjoy the fandom and I do understand these books. I just don't like the writing of them. So I've decided to not continue with the rest in this trilogy. I think I still have them. Yeah, they're still on my shelves over here, but sorry, but I want to use my time reading things that I'm going to enjoy more. The next one is the, what is it called? The Blood and Stars duology. The first one being Spin the Dawn. This, like I said, is a duology. I read the first one, I think last year in 2021. I got it in, I believe, an Owl Crate. Maybe it was a Fairy Loot. I got it in a subscription box many months ago, and I finally gave it a shot because I liked the idea of it. I liked that kind of Mulan-esque fashion kind of competition where our main character goes to like the ruling party, like the king, under the disguise of pretending to be her brother, to take part in this tailoring competition. I really enjoyed that part. The first half of this book was fantastic. The second half was not my favorite. It turned into kind of a journey narrative. The romance was not one that I fully believed in. And then there was this big thing with like a demon closer to the second half of it that is going to take over the second book, and that was not a plot line that I enjoyed reading about, honestly. It just kind of like, it just wasn't for me. So I decided not to give the second one a chance. I think I'm done after this one, just because I know where the second one's going to go plot-wise, and that's just not really one that I'm interested in. So did I enjoy the first half of this book? Absolutely. I thought it was great. If the entire book was very similar to the first half, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But sadly, it went in a different direction than I personally wanted it to. So I've decided just to say goodbye to this one too. The next one is called, oh, I don't even remember what this series is called. The Playbook, I think? Yeah, the Playbook series, the first one being Intercepted, and this is by Alexa Martin. So this is a series of 4 books, all companion romances that have to do with sports in some way. This one follows our main character Marley, and she has an NFL star love interest in this one. And this one was fine. Like, I didn't think anything bad of it. I actually really enjoyed this book. But looking at what the other books were about and some of the characters that followed, I honestly didn't really care about any of those. I liked this one. There might be one other in this series that I would be interested slightly in following, but not enough to actually, like, go out of my way and do it. So I've decided to just say we're done with this series. I really enjoyed this one, and I think if you're someone who really enjoys Alexa Martin's writing, then like this series would definitely be one for you. If you like companion romances like that, then this would be one for you. It's just not one for me. So I had a good time reading this one, but I think I'm done. I don't think I need to read the rest in the series. Another one that's a really big one is the Winter Night Trilogy, the first one being The Bear and the Nightingale. I read this one at the beginning of 2021 as part of kind of a secret TBR project where I read people's 2020 favorite books. And honestly, like, there were parts of this story that I really liked. Like, I don't know, there were some interesting parts learning our main characters growing up, learning a little bit more about the kind of fantastical elements of this. The stepmother character in this book was really interesting to me. But as far as the plot goes, I was honestly just like dragging myself to finish this. I, about halfway through, didn't feel interested. I'm still not entirely sure, a year later, what the heck happened at the end. Like, I read it, and I still don't know what I read. So I've heard this is for people who really like slow building, immense fantasy kind of worlds, and I'm not a slow build kind of person. I want more action than just character development. If there's character development, that's fine, but I need a lot of plot to go along with it. So I don't see myself enjoying the rest of this, especially because like everybody's name is the same and I don't understand any of them. So I don't know who we're even talking about half the time. So I just, like, maybe I would enjoy it more because I feel like the second one goes into like a Russian city, which might be a little bit more enjoyable than just the tiny town. But it was such a, like, I don't know, it was tough to get through. I had to pull myself through it. So I really didn't want to do that twice more. So yeah, I'm done with this one too. So the next one is the Shadow and the Wind series, which is actually called The Cemetery of Lost Boys. I read The Shadow and the Wind, absolutely devoured this book, absolutely loved it. It's such a good book, but it's part of a series where it all revolves around this kind of secret library. And I read the second book and didn't enjoy it as much. I felt like it was literally just the same book again, but in slightly, like, just slightly different situations. And also I still think there was a fantastical element kind of at the end, but I'm not sure really what happened. And there's a couple more in the series, but I've decided that I read Shadow in the Wind, and that one was really good. I don't want to taint my enjoyment of that anymore, so I've decided to kind of give up on the rest of this series. I did try to give it a try. I don't know, the second one didn't work so well for me, and I have no interest in the other two. So this is where, yeah, I'm just going to end it here. I'm not going to try to find the next in the series. I think I'm happy. I'm happy with this because, like I said, Shadow in the Wind was so good, and I really enjoyed that one. So I don't want it to, like, I don't want to force myself through the other two and then end up not like having bad memories about the first one. So yeah, I'm gonna stop this one here too. So the next one should not be a surprise if you've been here for any amount of time, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic. I read the first one in the series, and it was just kind of okay. I don't know if the hype got to me. I didn't connect with any of the characters. Honestly, there was a lot with the magic system that had to do with blood that kind of freaked me out. I don't like things where, like, the magic system revolves around blood. I am very squeamish when it comes to those kinds of things, so that wasn't particularly enjoyable for me. And I don't know, like, I have no interest, like, nothing is telling me to continue with these books, so I've decided not to. I liked, another book by this author. I've talked about The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I have devoured and absolutely loved, but this series, I don't know, like, maybe the hype got to me. I'm not sure, but I didn't really enjoy my time reading the first one. It did feel like I was trying to pull myself through it to actually get to the end of it, and I don't even really remember what happened. The individual Londons within this book was really interesting to me, so like the world she created with this series was interesting. I really enjoyed that part of it, but I didn't feel connected to really any of the characters, and yeah, it was just kind of generally okay. So I don't know, like, there was, like, definitely some moments at the end where you have, like, your characters in this kind of, like, life or death situation, and I didn't really care either way. Like, I wasn't stressed that they were in these situations. I was just kind of like, "Great. Is it over yet?" So, yeah. The next one shouldn't be a surprise to anyone either, and that is the Monstrous graphic novel series. I read, I think, the first 2 volumes of this, and I think the art style is, I mean, it's grotesque and gross, but the actual art itself is actually quite beautiful. I like the artist's art style, but the story itself is so confusing. I don't really understand half of what is going on, and I also am just kind of grossed out half the time, to be honest. And I think it's because the art style is so good. It, like, is very, I don't know, like, it's just very gruesome, and it's storytelling. And I also don't fully understand the magic system, so there were parts of it that I was really confused at, and parts of it that I couldn't tell what was actually happening and what was like a flashback from history to explain the world. So it was just mostly confusing, and I did not enjoy my time reading the second volume. The first one was just kind of generally okay, and then the second one came around, and I kind of had to force myself through that one, and I did not really enjoy it anymore. So, yeah, that one's not for me. And it might be because I'm pretty sure this is a horror graphic novel, and I don't do horror, which might be why I found it not enjoyable to read. So that one is mostly on me. But yeah, I gave it a shot. I tried to give it a couple of volumes, but yeah, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. The next one is one that, I mean, I feel like it's pretty obvious, and that is the Earthy series by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is a series that I was trying to take part in the read-along that Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction was doing. I did not really enjoy the first book. The second one was better. I was more interested in the second one, and then the third one went right back downhill. Didn't enjoy that at all. And that's about when they decided to give up. So I also gave up. And I think it's the writing style. I don't think I like that classic fantasy writing, which I think is very much what this person does, or that's what's happening in this series. Like, I've read another book by this author that's more sci-fi, and she has a very different writing style in that book than this one, but I think she was trying to, like, do that. Well, she was at the time, she was really kind of one of the pioneers, I think, of this, like, fantasy world, and I just did not like our main character. I couldn't get behind him. He felt like a jerk to me the entire time, and that's probably why I didn't enjoy it as much, is it just, like, wasn't for me. So, like, they were relatively short books to get through, which was nice, but I didn't care about anything. The world itself didn't make any sense to me. I wasn't really sure what was going on half the time. So, yeah, I was about ready to give up, and then they announced they were stopping it. And so I was very happy about that, because I don't think anybody was really enjoying it that much. As far as, like, taking part in this, you know, big buddy read of it. So, yeah, I'm not sure I would have ever read this otherwise, but I wanted to give this author another chance, and I just don't think that this was the series for that. So we'll see in the future if I try more things by this author, but I gave it a shot. It's just that writing is not for me. Another series that I DNF'd that I think I talked about a little bit last fall was the Skin Books series, the first one, and that being Ink by Alice Broadway. This kind of takes place in a world where, like, you get tattoos on you of all of your life, so, like, any big moments you get a tattoo, and your tattoos show your life story, and then when you die, your tattoos are put in this book, and it's kind of like your life story that was on your skin and stuff like that. But the first one was relatively interesting. I did, I think, enjoy most of it. And then when I got around to the second one, I realized I just didn't care anymore. It had that very dystopian feel, like this one person rebelling against the government, which is fine. I feel like I've read too much of that. and I need to put some space between that, like, kind of dystopian and me. So I don't know, like, it's just, I had zero desire. Like, I picked up the second book, read like the first chapter, and was just like not interested. And like, I picked up immediately from the end of the first book, and I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. I just didn't really want to. I had no desire to continue. So I decided just to put it down, save myself from forcing myself to read a book that I knew I was going to give a bad rating at the end of it. So I just decided to put it down and just say bye to the series. So that's what I did. The next one is one that I read, I think, last fall, and that is the Master of Sorrows series. I believe that's what the series is called, but that's definitely the first book in the series, by Justin Call. This one I read for my very first episode of BookTube Made Me series, which I'll leave linked above if you're curious about it. This is a high fantasy that kind of tells the story of the villain becoming the villain, and he doesn't think that he's the villain, so he thinks he's doing good, and then it's kind of foreshadowing that one day he will be this evil force. So it's a great idea. I thought it was really interesting as an idea, but I don't think the execution worked as well. But like, I'm still confused on why it didn't work for me, and I think it's just because I felt like not much happened in this book. Like, it was a relatively thick book, and it took like 20 chapters to get through one activity. So it just was so much writing for such little actual plot. So I don't know, it was interesting to see the different complexities of this world, because in this world, if you have some sort of disformity or anything like that, then you're thought of as bad, so you're supposed to like hide these things. Also, you're not supposed to use magic for some reason, and so like, our main character is training to be this person who like kind of hides magic away, but he doesn't have like I think it's a left or a right hand, and he also can use magic. And so like, it's an interesting idea, and I liked the synopsis sounded like it was going to be really good. I just don't think the execution worked for me. I don't think I liked his writing style. I think he just spent too much time writing on things that he didn't need to spend that much time on. So I don't know. Either should have been half the size, or more should have happened, and neither of those things happened. So I think I'm gonna say bye to it. Like, it was decent, but it was not for me. And the last one is also one that I think I'm gonna get a lot of hate for, and that is the Outlander series. So I read the first two books in this series, and I really, really enjoyed the first book. I thought it was quite good. I got really sucked into these characters. And then the second one came in, and they're just too long, in my opinion, for me to give that much time to. Like, I have the mass market paperbacks still somewhere in this house. I don't remember where I put them. And they're like over 1,000 pages each, and that's just a lot of story. And I didn't want to give that much time to. I still enjoyed the world. I still want to give the TV show a try, because I think it's a type of world that I would enjoy watching a TV adaptation of. But as far as the books, there's too many, and they're just too long, because about halfway through, I no longer want to be reading the book, and there's still half of the story to go. And so there was just some lulls in it, and I think the world is just too complex for me to properly like understand all the little pieces of it. But it's set in Scotland, and it involves time traveling, so like, all of those things should work for me. And while the first book was so good, like, if it was just the first book, I would love it forever. But because there's so many, I don't think I can do it. It's just too much of a time commitment that I do not want to give. So I'm sad to see this one go, honestly, because I am interested in the world, but they're just too long. So that's it. Those were all of the books and book series that I've decided to just kind of like say goodbye to. I'm done. I don't want to give my time to them anymore. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. Again, I'm sorry if I mentioned one of your favorites. It's just gonna happen. But let me know down below a series that you decided to DNF and why. Is there a specific writing thing? Is there a specific plot thing? Let me know. But if you enjoyed this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all that out, and I will see you guys in my next video.